Hello, Grumpy Old Fart here. Um, this is an irritating subject for me. Uh, the 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 world at large has been witnessing UFOs and having UFO encounters of various kinds, abductions, things like that, for a really long time. I do videos on UFOs and alien encounters and abductions. Go check some of those out. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's been happening for a long, long time. Last year, the Navy announced that videos and photos that were taken from aircraft off the carrier Nimitz were genuine. So in essence, the U.S. Navy announced that UFOs are real. That's what prompted me to start doing these. Because now, I wanted to keep my channel doing real stuff. Not conspiracy theories or fake crap. So I'm trying to keep everything real. Well, now the Navy has announced that UFOs are real, so that's another topic I can do. And I love UFO stuff. That's just been a thing with me for a long time. So I started doing them. And then Donald Trump got elected. Yay. If you haven't guessed, I'm a Trump supporter. So we now have the U.S. Space Force, thanks to Donald Trump. And ostensibly they're supposed to be protecting our interests in space, our satellites and things like that. But is that all they're doing? Are they here to protect us from the UFOs? That was a question raised by my wife and I put it in one of my videos, and it's a topic to discuss. It's a serious question. Just very recently, a short time ago, the Pentagon excuse me, announced that there are unidentified aerial phenomena in our skies. UFOs. That's the new term for UFOs. Unidentified aerial phenomena. And so now they've announced that the UFOs are in our skies. They're real. There's a government program that's been studying these unidentified flying objects, unidentified aerial phenomena, whatever you want to call them. So now we have the U.S. Navy and the Pentagon both announcing that UFOs are real. My question now is, why isn't the world and the media abuzz about it? You saw a few cute little stories and some blurbs about it, but that's about it. You haven't seen any real in-depth investigation about these things. And I would very much like to know why. Because this is potentially one of the greatest announcements in human history. We are not alone in the universe. Then people say, well, how do you know if they're alien? Well, if they were on Earth, we'd know who had them. American intelligence would know who's flying those types of aircraft if they were from Earth. Are they extra-dimensional? I don't know. Are they extraterrestrial? I don't know. But they're not local. Okay? That's a given. If you've not seen the video, go to the Nimitz UFO encounters on YouTube and look at some of those. It's astounding what those things do. The speeds, the maneuverability. If those things wanted to kill us, we'd be dead, and we would have no defense against that. They're not from Earth. The other day, my wife and I were discussing this, and she has some other ideas, but I don't want to harp on her stuff. I want her to be able to do her own stuff. My questions are, the only reasons I can think of to explain why our mainstream media isn't going off the rails on this stuff is our society, the world society, not just America, is so dumbed down that nobody cares. I talked to a guy the other day. How's it going to affect me? Well, it might not, but it might. You never know. The fact that people aren't questioning it is what astounds me. I can't fathom that. But there's a lot of wars going on in the world, and in other countries, people are more concerned about feeding their families or surviving till the next day. So I kind of understand that. But in America, there's a lot of stuff going on with the riots and the coronavirus bullshit and all that. So I understand that as well. But why isn't the media saying something about this? Why aren't there daily stories about this? I don't get that. Can we be so wrapped up in our own bullshit that we ignore what's quite possibly the greatest announcement in the history of our planet? That's, to me, that's just sad. It's just sad. The other part of it I touched on in another video. The governments of the world are afraid of having to pay reparations and compensations to all of the witnesses who have lost their careers when they came forward for decades. Military personnel, pilots, other people, government employees would come forward and say, "Hey, I saw lights up there," blah, blah, blah. And suddenly they're not able to fly. They're treated like nutcases. They literally lose their careers over this stuff. And that's the only thing I can think of why it's not a bigger deal, is because the governments of the world are afraid they're going to have to pay these people compensation, because that's a lot of freaking compensation. There's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of these people who would potentially have to be awarded compensation for this, because when a pilot witnesses a UFO, generally they're desk jockeys after that. So most pilots don't report it, but the ones that do lose their career and blah blah blah. Well, they're denied promotions. They're blackballed from this or that or whatever. And what that boils down to is a loss of career. And these people, they deserve compensation. If they saw a UFO and now we find out that they're real, they deserve the compensation. Well, it just boggles my mind that this may be one of the reasons why the government's not putting more stuff out there about it. The other thing that bugs me is the UFO community should be up in arms about this, but they're not. And I don't understand why. MUFON and all these other organizations should be going ballistic. They should be marching on Washington, demanding information, demanding this. None of those FOIA requests that can be ignored or taken to court or whatever. They should be. Those are the protests we should be having. I don't want to belittle George Floyd and the other gentlemen who've died at the hands of the cops, because people dying is a serious thing. But the cops are being dealt with. They're being prosecuted. Blah 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 blah. So to me, there's no real reason for these riots, because the cops are being prosecuted. Justice is taking its course. In this, nobody's saying anything. It's not even out there. It's ridiculous. And I would very much like to know why. If anybody has any information on this, please put it in the comments, and I'll be glad to read it and comment on it. I try to comment on everybody, the people who comment on my stuff. I try to address it. Sometimes I get busy and it takes a while, so apologies there. But if you have information on this, please put it in the comments, and I'll be glad to read it. And I would very much appreciate it if you did. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all.